Welcome back to another edition of Ideal Me. I am your host, Lamar Whidbey, and today our guest is my longtime friend. Uh, just a brother, assistant attorney general, uh, Jaren Kelly. Jaren,
What's up, man?
what's up, brother?
Not much.
How you doing?
I'm good. No complaints.
So, just getting straight to it. Um, why did you become a lawyer?
Um, I've wanted to be a lawyer since I was 4 years old. I used to watch Matlock and Perry Mason with my grandmother.
Okay, Matt likes my show.
It was like, man, them jokers always could figure out what the issue was. More so when I got older, I think I just saw it as an opportunity, as a vessel, to make a difference in the world, specifically in Black community. Um, as we all know, the laws in this country, they have definitely a racial component. I mean, to say otherwise, you're not being genuine. And so I just thought it might be a good avenue to go down to try to make a change.
Okay. So when I say prosecutor, what comes to mind?
Um, when you say prosecutor, I would, without being an attorney, I would say somebody that puts people in jail.
Okay. What's your relationship with that?
So I actually served as a prosecutor in Wake County, North Carolina, for almost 3.5 years, right here in downtown Raleigh. And I've tried cases, prosecuted people from things ranging from speeding tickets all the way up to felony stalking, assaults, driving while impaired cases.
Okay. And your current job description is?
Currently, I'm with the North Carolina Department of Justice. I am a assistant attorney general in the public safety section. Essentially, what I do now is I handle cases representing the Department of Public Safety, dealing with civil rights claims. So a lot of the times where we'll see on the news a officer has been accused of excessive use of force. One of the tools that the federal statutes give somebody an opportunity to do with sue under the civil rights being violated. So I represent the correctional officers in the facilities, or anybody who works in the facilities. I represent them when they're being sued by an offender in the prisons.
So looking at the history of our country, right? Looking at the history of our country, and you being a Black man, born and raised in Virginia,
Right.
right? Considered the South.
Right.
How do you justify prosecution and your current job description, being a Black male?
I think it's one of those things, man. You need good people in everything, right? So, I don't think there's a Black attorney in America that wouldn't tell you that someone like Thurgood Marshall is their somebody that they look up to, somebody who they're inspired by. Thurgood Marshall, although he's mainly known for his work as a fighter against injustice, Thurgood Marshall ended up working for the federal government as Solicitor General, and then going into the Circuit Court, and then ended up going into becoming a Supreme Court Justice. You need good people in every aspect of life. You have bad prosecutors. I think in my aspect, I never wanted to be a prosecutor going to law school for the very reason why we're having this conversation.
Where did you go to law school?
North Carolina Central.
Okay.
I'm an Eagle, baby. Let's do it. I didn't want to be a prosecutor until going to law school, and I think it was my 2L year, a classmate of mine. She was like, "Hey, Jaren, I really think you should look at trying to be a prosecutor. There's not a lot of Black men that do it, and the majority of us on the other side." Right. And so did an internship in Wake County, interned with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I really enjoyed it. If I asked you, and I'm gonna kick this back at you, who's the most powerful person in the courtroom?
Well, knowing you, I know that it's the prosecutor.
Right. Most people think it's the judge.
Right.
Prosecutor decides if I'm going to offer you a deal, if I'm going to dismiss your case, or if I'm going to proceed on it. And one of the things that I was able to do in that role was to, have an impact in such a way. Um, in the North Carolina Rules of Ethics, one of the things that they talk about in regards to a prosecutor is an administrator or as a minister of justice. And in that role, I really enjoyed doing that because there were times where there's people that would come in that they're asking, "Hey, can I speak to the prosecutor?" And I tell them I'm the prosecutor, and their eyes light up like, "Wait a minute,
Right.
I have a shot here." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed my time in doing it. Were there times where I had to prosecute people that ended up going to jail? Yes. But were there times that I was able to, help somebody see that where their path was going and being able to let them know where they'll end up? I was able to do that a lot more than putting people in jail.
Looking at the individuals who are behind bars, like majority of the individuals who are behind bars, what do they look like?
The majority of people that I've dealt with are majority of them are black.
Okay.
Um, I can say since coming to the Attorney General's office and working more closely with them and dealing with their cases because I'm representing the state, it really does a lot change your mindset and how people who people are. I think a lot of times we have a stigma in this country that when someone goes to prison for doing something horrible, we think of them as this obscene person who's, oh my goodness, he's the lowest of the low. And there are some people that have done some unspeakable things.
Yeah.
But in working with them, man, I tell you, some of these guys are just, they're nice guys. The reason why they're in prison is they had the worst day of their life. And so one of the things that even now, when I was a prosecutor and even now, I still try to treat them with respect. When we're going through these cases, I call them Mister. Try to make sure that I'm doing good communication, not trying to talk down to anybody, because regardless of what somebody's in jail for, what somebody's in prison for, they're still a person, and they deserve that type of respect.
What would you, just real quick, what would you say the correlation is with mental health in the justice system?
I think a lot of the people that I've interacted with, a lot of their components are mental health issues. Not, I won't say like the majority, but you can see a lot of correlations. You can see folks that have struggled with addiction, people that have struggled with self medicating, which I could be considered the same thing, I guess. And also people that are dealing with trauma. I've dealt with folks, and if I can just tell a quick story, I remember when I was trying a case with this guy who was charged with driving while impaired. Guy, when it was his third time. He had been charged with habitual, and which means you had 3 convictions in 10 years. Right. And when he started telling his story, and his defense attorney came to me with hey, I think you might want to, if you can, do what you can, and this isn't a situation where you just want to throw him behind the bar and throw away the key. Yeah. But the guy started telling the story of how when he was 8 years old, one of his younger twin brothers drowned. His doctor, his parents divorced, and the judge made him choose in open court who he wanted to live with. He got introduced to beer at 8 years old by his father. And then there was a time where he was with his mom, and she was going out on a date. She could not find a sitter. And so she took him along on the date, and what she did was she put him in the trunk while she was having relations in the back seat with the guy. And he's telling me this story. I'm like, man, this guy never had a chance. And so the balance that you try to walk with and seeing things like that, like the addiction that he's dealing with, as we come to know scientifically, that most people that struggle with alcohol or some kind of substance were introduced to it at a very young age. Young man was introduced to it at 8 years old, and his entire life, whenever he's had an issue, what does he do? He goes to get a drink. And so trying to balance.
That's the way he copes.
Yeah, that's the way he copes with it. And so trying to balance justice and for the people of North Carolina, but also justice for this person, it's a very, very tight rope that you try to walk, because some people say, you're being not being tough on crime. Well, every crime isn't the same. and every person even charged with the same thing, there's a story behind it. So um, mental health, I do believe, plays a very, very active role in our criminal justice system. And I do think that if we could get some sources and trying to help people, you can really cut down on recidivism. And recidivism is just people going in and out of the prison for the same thing, or being, they as soon as they get out, they come right back in for doing something else.
Right, right. When we talk about the history of a person, right? The history of a person, where they are, where they want to be. We were just talking about the justice system, but yeah, where they are, where they want to be, but just bringing that back to you yourself. If I ask you, what is the ideal version of you? What or who is the ideal version of Jaren Kelly?
Man,
How would you answer?
That's a question I never really thought about till today. Off the top of my head, I would say the ideal me would just be someone who is still more humble, and not as judgmental. I mean, I do my best to not judge people, but I still think some of that human side of me is that, oh man, you hear something and oh man, who this person is, and I think I would just say, yeah, exude more humility and more love and patience toward people, regardless of what they've done, who they are. Just try to break down some of those what's the word I'm looking for? Some preconceived notions that I have in my head, and just I feel like if I can do that and be a better father, be a better husband, be a better friend, be a better brother, that's me trying to do my part in trying to make the world better.
Appreciate you, brother. Everybody, Jaren Kelly. Is there any place, like where can the people be in touch with you, or?
I mean, yeah, I don't got an issue. I'm definitely around. I would probably say, you can email me. You've got questions about about the criminal justice system, and just as someone, again, who's integral, who's integrated in every day. My email is jarenkelly88@gmail.com. JarenKelly88@gmail.com. Yeah, I would love to answer any questions. That's one of the things that I've wanted to do in being a lawyer, is trying to be that bridge from the preconceived notions that we have about the criminal justice system, and a lot of them are very valid. So I'm not saying that to dismiss what people already think about it, but to try to bridge that gap so people can have a better understanding. And go vote. I'm gonna throw that out there. Specifically, your district attorney, the person who prosecutes your cases, is an elected person. The sheriff who runs the sheriff's department is someone who's elected. That is one very way that you can have an integral part in just deciding in how things are done with the criminal justice system locally. And then you go from there.
My guy.
Yeah, man.